Bond. James Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Welcome back to the SuperCaZt with part 3 of our James Bond rankings. Before we get going with number 10, here's a quick recap of what the list looks like so far. So number 10, this is one that I think a lot of people say is sort of not that exciting. It doesn't go to the heights that a lot of the other ones do. But to me, this is one of my favorite Bond films, obviously, since I put it at number 10.
Yeah.
For Your Eyes Only this is just like one I watched a ton as a kid.
Yeah.
I loved that ski chase that goes on forever and just so exciting.
Yeah.
But there's just so much about this film I love. I put it on again the other night just because I'm like, I want to go revisit this film and experience this film again. And I always get something out of it when I do. It just is a very well made film. And I think John Glenn's best film that he made for this series.
Yeah, it's definitely a good film. It's a film I hadn't seen too many times, and when I watched it, I don't know, maybe a month ago or something like that. It's been forever since I've seen this film. Like, I probably couldn't even tell you the plot of this film because it's been so long, and I kind of shame myself for that because it, like you said, it's a very well-made film. I like the plot. I like everything we were talking about with the prior. Bond has a certain formula, and if you have a good villain, if you have a good plot, obviously Bond, the actor, is part of it too. But if you have all these things, then you have a good Bond film, and I think that gets all the boxes ticked on this film.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to have the big villain base or any of the major scale plots like they've had in the series prior to this.
Yep.
But this is supposed to be them correcting from Moonraker. This is them coming back to Earth, literally. And I think that's one part you could knock about is the finale.
Yeah.
Because the previous films, they've had these awesome epic finales. And this one has Bond and some smugglers invading a monastery that has like a Russian or KGB agents there. And it's like, yeah, this is kind of low scale. These guys, they're sneaking around. Like most of the most exciting part of the finale is Bond climbing up there and sort of that danger. But that's what I like about it is how well shot that is. I feel like I'm there with Bond dangling on this. I feel that danger. And you don't always get that in the Roger Moore ones. So I like that it goes there. I also like the Dove as a henchman. This guy that he kills so many people that are close to Bond in this film. And then Bond gets that scene where he's got him on the edge of the cliff and the car's teetering there. And I like that scene. I know Roger, he didn't like that scene because he was like, my character would not kick the car off the side. And I see where he's coming from, but I just like that it does go that dark place, that it does show that harder side of Bond because he is a killer.
Right. I totally get what Roger's saying. But I think in certain instances and certain people, you're going to get, you're going to go to a different place sometimes. And people are, and certain things are going to, and I totally get it. I think that it's totally called for in this instance. So I'm with you, man. I think it's definitely called for.
Yeah, it's a great part. And like I already mentioned, the ski chase. I love the score in this one. It's Bill Conti.
I'm glad you mentioned
Bill Conti,
that.
fresh off the Rocky films, and he's got this. It's like the disco version of Bond, in my opinion, and it just sounds great. I love how the action's shot. Like I said, this is my favorite John Glenn film. He really nails it on this one, and I think Roger, he's not too old yet. He's still got that charming side.
No.
I don't want to talk about everything from this film. I will say the villain's not the best, mainly because they do that thing where you think this guy's the villain, but it's actually this guy. That usually doesn't work in a Bond film, in my opinion. That's okay. If I could just knock it on that, it's top 10 for me. Number 9. This is one that could be my top 5, but I'm putting it at 9. Goldeneye, 1995. Pierce Brosnan.
Ooh, yeah, I love Goldeneye. It is in my top 5. It's actually in my top 4, but we'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I love so much about this film. I love the performance by Bond. He just was born to be Bond.
Yeah.
I love the villains. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't believe they didn't think of this prior to this. We were talking about Scaramanga. Yeah, he's supposed to be Bond's equal, but this is actually was a friend of Bond's going up against him. This was his mate.
Yep.
And they're going at each other. Got Zonya Onatopp. She's insane. Like,
yeah, literally.
Yeah, it's got so much working for it. The things I knock it on is the score. I know that shouldn't matter too much. It's just almost too 90s for me.
Really?
And not in that good way. Campbell, I think he's a great director, but I don't think this is his best film. And if I had to knock it for one more thing, and this is the controversial. Natalia, she just doesn't do it for me.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, I think this film is great. I think this film is one of the films, we've mentioned quite a few that you probably wouldn't introduce somebody that's never seen a Bond film. But I do think, because pretty much everything you just said, first of all, we do agree that Pierce Brosnan was born to play James Bond. I think he was supposed to play him earlier, but he was in a little show called Remington Steele. So that got delayed a little bit, and this was 1995, I do believe, when this came out. We were both 10 years old, so we were primed and ready. Do you remember going to the theater to see this film? Because I do. You remember? Yeah.
And this is the thing that makes this one, and Tomorrow Never Dies we were talking about earlier. Yeah. We were actually there for this. This was when we were getting into Bond, is when these films came out.
Yeah, they had just re-released them on VHS, and for you kids that don't know, that was before DVD. Some kids probably don't even know what DVD is now at this point. But they had just released them on VHS, and this is a big deal. This movie was a huge deal, because this is bringing back the franchise. It's been out for a little while.
Yeah, and they killed it. Like this.
Yeah,
it's a well-made film.
Yep.
The action is insane. I love the tank chase scene that goes through Moscow.
I love it. Yes.
It's so great. And I was just knocking the score, but the score in that scene, it's great. This was just one that we watched a ton growing up in. It had the video game that came with it, and that's probably why this one is so much popular with the normal people that don't watch Bond that much.
They probably know the video game more than the film. So.
Yeah, but it's just got so much going for it.
Yeah. It's a quintessential Bond film. For me, it kind of ticks all those boxes that we've been talking about. I just feel like it's a film that you can have a lot of fun with. You can turn your brain off. It's got good villains. It's just an excellent film.
When I saw that this is where I had it ranked, I was like, I got to rethink these rankings. I got because I don't see how this is not my top 5, and it's one like a lot of we talked about. We've kind of gone back and forth, but I love Live and Let Die. It is one of my favorite of the series. I love Roger in it. I love how it's made and put together. I have so much fun watching this film, and it has the J.W. Pepper scene that doesn't work for everybody, and it used to not work for me. But I could sit down and watch this movie anytime, any day. It just is great.
Yeah, it's just a perfect Bond film. Is it
a perfect Bond film?
I think so, but go ahead.
Because I think
you feel like
why this one doesn't work for me sometimes is it does subvert the formula a little bit.
It does. True.
Because they bring in this new Bond. They bring in magic, like magic exists in the James Bond universe. It's just it had a different vibe to it.
Yeah.
But I think it works in this one.
Yeah.
I think when they sort of go away from the formula and they're like, let's do this crazy plot about heroin and this guy that is a diplomat,
Yeah.
but he's also a drug dealer.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think
No.
that's what I think is cool about it. I don't think it is trying to be anything else other than live and let die.
Yeah.
Just how they introduced Roger in this one.
I don't know. The thing about it is I get it. I totally understand. Like if you're coming into this, you're like, this is James Bond. This is just, you know, voodoo. You got all this kind of stuff going on. Does Solitaire work as a Bond girl? I mean, what do you think about Solitaire, man?
So she's one I always go back and forth on. In fact, when I first did this number system, I had her ranked kind of low. But then I watched the film again, and I was like, you know what? I kind of dig it.
Okay.
So it's interesting, and like we're saying, it's like magic existing in this world. And yeah, I know Jane Seymour, she might not be the most accomplished actress, but I think what makes that character cool is just sort of the stuff that, if you read between the lines of the script, you see this is very interesting. This is an interesting character.
Right.
Like, because she believes that this is all real. And this guy Kananga is extra evil for doing what he's done to this family.
It's true.
It just adds so much to the movie when you actually take the time to analyze this character.
Right.
So I think she's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I think she's great. Is it a different Bond girl? Is it a different approach? We've talked about how these Bond films will go to these dark places sometimes, and you either go along for the ride or you don't. I mean, that's how it goes. But I just always dug this film in the sense that because it's the Bond film, everything works for me. Even the stuff that maybe shouldn't work, even all this voodoo stuff, even the end is kind of open-ended, with the guy on the...
Baron Samity's immortal.
I mean, like, it's there's a lot to this film that you just have to kind of like go, okay, we're with you. I dig this film. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did a whole podcast on it.
We did. We like this film.
Yeah, we like it a lot. One last thing as we move away from Roger. Roger, this is... I think I like him in other films better, but I just love him in this film. I think
this is his best Bond film.
He's just so bad. I mean, just the way he dresses, the way he walks around, the cigars, the bourbon. As we said, they're trying to go away from the formula a little bit, and I like all those choices in this film. I think it works, and
I think it works because Roger makes it work. I think he is. Even the beginning, even the whole thing with M coming. Let's talk about that because I don't remember. We may have talked about this. Now that's one part of the film that I don't like. There's no way M comes into Bond's house with Moneypenny and is like, "Hey Bond, I want you to do this." The beginning of this film is never. And I tried because I love the rest of this film, but it just never worked with me. What say you on the matter, sir?
I kind of like it. And I'll agree. It's kind of sloppy. It's just like we want to create this situation where Bond's trying to hide this girl from his boss. We want to create that. So how are we going to do that? I don't know. Maybe some random emergency. M has to come to his house right now. He can't wait to 8 in the morning. He's going to come to Bond's house at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Give him this mission. Yeah. Get on a plane. There's no explanation for the urgency, really.
Yeah.
I agree with you there, but the part that used to not work for me, that just works for me so well now, is his introduction in this scene. Because the other James Bond actors, they all do something cool, like in the pre-battle sequence when they're introduced, or they're sitting down being awesome, like Sean Connery and Dr. No. But he just wakes up on him in bed with a girl, and it's just like, this is James Bond, guys.
That's who he is.
That's what he does. This is his
It's
life.
an honest portrayal. It's for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it just shows you it's going to be a little bit lighter, a little more comedic. I think it's an awesome film.
And then of course the whole, the death, the four different deaths of the agents that start the film.
Yes, 3. Yeah, you don't even see Bond in the pre-title.
And that's pretty interesting in itself because I feel like that this film already goes somewhere that the others may not have gone, at least to that dark of a place. I mean, yes, we know that he's a secret agent and other secret agents have died and, people die in the Bond universe. But, and you mentioned the whole magic thing. So there's a lot that they throw out in this film, in this opening title, even before the title sequence, that I don't think Bond audiences were used to at this point, at least the movie audiences. So, good on them for doing that. I think they pull it off.
Yeah, and we did a whole podcast on it. I would love to keep talking about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, we've already talked about this film.
We did. We have. You're right.
All right.
You gotta stop me, man.
Number 7, 007. This is the one that's made the biggest jump for me over the years.
Oh boy, I cannot wait.
It used to be way down there for me.
Okay.
Especially as a kid, I hated it.
Ooh. Trying to already predict what it is.
It's Moonraker.
Really?
Yeah, I used to hate Moonraker back in the day because to me it was just a retread of The Spy Who Loved Me, which I loved. And I'm like, why would I want to see the exact same plot again? Just told in a different way. But I was missing out. I did not realize how...
You have to tell me on Moonraker because Moonraker to me is... I can deal with the dark magic of Louisiana before I can deal with Bond going to space, man. This is just.
That's the
Go
thing,
ahead, man.
And I used to be with you. I thought the ending was so stupid. It's like these two armies fighting each other with lasers in space.
Stupid.
But I love that now.
Okay, all right.
I think that's awesome. As long as you know, hey, guess what, guys? Bond's going to go to space in this one.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, let's go for this ride. It's gonna be fun because it does go to a lot of cool locations. Bond's trying to track down this mystery: who stole this shuttle? What are they doing? What does these chemicals have to do with it? And we get the return of Jaws, and he's very menacing. So we get all that stuff going on. It's got a few standout action sequences at the beginning. Then he goes to space, and I could hear you, man. I could hear you say, "This is too stupid. This is a bridge too far. What are they doing at this point?"
Yeah. You got me, man.
But I love it.
Go ahead. Hey,
I have so much fun with this film. I think it's a very well-made film too. The cinematography, it's awesome. It's one of the best-looking Bond films.
I guess it's just one of those films that it's just the premise alone is so not something I would think of Bond doing. There's certain things when you talked about the Bond formula, you talked about what you expect in a Bond, and you just don't expect Bond to go to space. Now, you gotta have an open mind at times, but for me, this film, it just doesn't do. I don't think. I think it sets out to do too much is what its problem, and I just don't think it lands what it's trying to do. But you have a difference of opinion, and I respect your opinion. So, convince me. Why do you feel like that this film? Because come on, Bond going to space. Does that really sound like a plausible plot for a secret agent to do?
Well, it's not.
Exactly.
It's not. But none of them are. I mean, Diamonds Are Forever. There's a space laser going to shoot down, do something.
If we're going to get technical, and let's not get technical because we're going to lose people, But Bond going to space is just ridiculous, and there's just
it is, and that's the point. It is ridiculous. All of it's ridiculous. A volcano layer is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
Well,
it's. I mean, he nearly went to space and. For You've Only Lived Twice, and that was like 10 years prior to this. This was And I could see, yeah, this was harebrained. This was crazy. They just want to cash in on Star Wars. That's what it was. They were doing. Because if this is what used to drive me crazy about it as a kid, is you watch the end of Spy Who Loved Me. It says Bond would return, in For Your Eyes Only. Doesn't even mention Moonraker because Moonraker was not in the plans. And then all of a sudden we get Moonraker, which is basically a rebrand of the same plot we just had. Here it is again, folks. Except this time he's not going underwater, he's going to space. And guess what? At the end of this film, it says Bond will return and For Your Eyes Only. So that used to drive me crazy as a kid. And I hated this movie as a kid. But I guess I just need more films like this in my life now.
That's fun. Hey.
Things that are fun, things that I can just go for the ride.
Dude, yeah.
And I think it's a very well-made film. I think Lewis Gilbert, I was talking about my favorite John Glenn one earlier. Lewis Gilbert is the best Bond director, in my opinion.
Wow.
He does spectacle better than all of them.
Okay.
His movies are shot beautifully. The cinematographer that did this film is the same guy that did Lawrence of Arabia. It's top-notch filmmaking. And that's what I love. Yes, it's stupid. Yes, Jaws randomly gets a girlfriend at the end of the film. It's so weird. It's so weird. That's the only way I could describe it. But I love it. I think it's a great film. So much fun.
We said at the top of this, this is going to be our rankings, and people are going to probably be like, "That's just nuts." But that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to have fun with this, and that's what we're doing. So hey, man, you have your Moonraker, you have your fun with it, and
Yeah, we might have to do a podcast just on this one. Just
I would love to now. I think we should.
Number 6. This is one. I debated this one so hard because it was nearly like number 3 for me. But just how you said your recent watching experience kind of downgraded the film a little bit for you. Yeah. That's what happened to me for this one. Rated only fell to like 6 as we're finishing up this episode. But this is my favorite Daniel Craig film. It's Casino Royale. Wow. Not top 5 Bond. Just almost top 5 Bond, but not quite.
Yeah, this one is 5 for me. I'm gonna put this one hard at 5. 6 though, I can understand. This is a tough one for me because I think it's a great film, but I'm not sure it's a great Bond film. I don't know. Like I go back and forth. Talk to your journey with this film.
Well, so when this movie first came out, I loved it.
Sure.
Because it resurrected this series. It brought it back from the dead after Die Another Day nearly killed it all.
Now, let me ask you a question here, man. The film you loved, but did you really love Daniel Craig's Bond?
Well,
because for me, that's the clicker right there. I think the film is great. I'm not sure if I'm the biggest Daniel Craig, but I'll go ahead and say, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm not saying, he can't act or he can't even be a good Bond. I just don't think he makes that great of a James Bond.
I think that's where the filmmakers kind of hurt him a little bit. Because my opinion about that, and this is getting mad about the whole Daniel Craig thing. So, like, he's becoming Bond in this one. He's not the James Bond that we even see in Dr. No. So he doesn't have the swagger. He doesn't have that confidence that we know James Bond to have.
But I don't think he's even looking for it personally.
No, and we don't really see that in his Bond until the 4th one. And by that point, it's like, okay, this is Spectre, as we talked about, not the best. That's the only one that really adheres to the Bond formula and tries to be a Bond film. This one dabbles in the formula, and I think it does that very well. But I also think it does its own thing kind of well. The most exciting scenes of this film are at a poker table.
I agree with that.
And that's really cool that you can do that. So Martin Campbell, we're talking about on GoldenEye. He's a great director. Does a great job with this one. And the action at the beginning of this one. Daniel Craig does this action that none of the other Bond actors could do. And you kind of have to appreciate that. This parkour scene at the beginning. Oh my gosh. It's just
fantastic.
So thrilling. It's never not worked for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
stuff at the airport. It's great.
Well,
I think the reason why this one kind of went down for me a little this time is just the climax at the end. It's after the whole Lashif stuff, after he's been tortured. I'm just ready for the film to be over with at that point.
right?
Just because I guess it's because the first time you watch it, if you haven't read the book, Vesper's betrayal, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like, yeah, let's just get to it. She's going to die.
Yeah.
I've already seen the best part of this film. That's kind of the way I sit with it. Praise, negatives. What do you have to say about Casino Royale?
Look, I mean, everything you just said, I totally agree. I think that the poker stuff is good. I think the parkour stuff is good. I feel like this movie is shot really, really well. And I think it is written very well. They bring back Judi Dench as M, and I'm not sure she has chemistry with Daniel Craig. I'm not sure that they ever have, the chemistry that M and Bond should have. But that's just my opinion.
Once again, I don't think that's the point in this one.
No, I agree with that.
He's new on the job. She doesn't trust him totally. He's like, yeah, you're Bond. You're just an instrument. I don't care about you. But I think it's Skyfall they do have some chemistry in that one.
But I think that's what hurts the whole Judi Dench M, because Judi Dench M is not the same, or shouldn't be, I guess, the same M in this as it was in the last Pierce Brosnan film, which happened how many years before this? Like 3 or 4, something like that. I don't know. And and so, but yet she's older. She is older. It never made sense from a timeline standpoint that you would have an older Judi Dench mentoring this young Bond. I think that's one of the things for me and I've tried to make it work, because I like Judi Dench and I like Daniel Craig, but I'm not sure I like Daniel Craig's Bond. I'm just not sure it ever completely worked with me like Roger Moore or even Sean Connery. I just don't think he or even Pierce Brosnan. I think Pierce Brosnan was born to play James Bond. I think you might even say Timothy Dalton was born to play James Bond. I'm not sure I could say that about Mr. Craig, and that's just my opinion, man.
Yeah, and I hear you. I mean, like I said, this is one. I think it's the best Craig film.
It is. I agree with that.
It's not in my top 5. I mean, obviously, I like these other guys. The films they made a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I think what this one has going for it, and makes up for his performance. Even though he's a great actor,
agree. Yeah.
But just the fact that he doesn't feel like Bond the whole time kind of hurts the film. I just didn't feel invested at the end.
Does it kill the film? No, obviously not. No, I'll agree with that.
The one thing that I think everybody could agree upon, and why this film kind of like jumped up so for much people and thought it was a great film when it came out, is Eva Green as Vesper. She's awesome. Like, she's one of the top Bond girls. Lashif, Mads Mikkelsen as him. He's a great villain.
I was so mad they kill her. Like, I was so mad, and I'm still mad. I think she's the one Bond girl. You're just like, no, she doesn't need to die. I get it from a story standpoint, and whatever. But oh man, she was just so good. Has a lot of chemistry with Daniel Craig, which really surprises you is how much she really elevated that.
Yeah, the scenes on the train or the one in the hotel room, them two together.
Yep.
Probably some of the best scenes of the film, as far as just best acted. It just really sucks you in. You're just like, I'm in this room with these people right now. I feel this sort of chemistry, this sort of relationship these two people are developing.
How about Felix Leiter? What do you think of that character?
Oh man, I love it. Jeffrey Wright, Jeffrey Wright, awesome actor, and I love him in this role.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright's a great actor.
And as we close the page on this, Casino Royale, you got to realize the context when it came out.
I agree. 1000%.
Saving the series.
Yeah.
modernized the series. It rebooted the series.
Sure did.
It just did so much that we needed, and I guess that's why Bond is going to continue. Hopefully,
And I hope so, yeah. We will definitely get to our top films. Obviously, you probably already know what they are. I think a couple of them we've actually done other videos on, but really excited about to get to those. If you'd like to get our list for our other ones, our other video is probably up by now. So go watch it and make sure you subscribe to our X page. Let us know what your Bond list is and stay tuned for our top Bond films of the SuperCaZt. And we'll see you guys next time on the SuperCaZt. Take care.